Hello, and welcome to The Source Within with Chloe Pedalino, where I share the source within me with hopes it sparks the source within thee. Today, we are going to talk about the topic of Reiki, Reiki, what it is, how it works, how it changed my life, that's for sure, and how it potentially can change yours. It seems like Reiki is not a modality that is yet super well known. Some people have heard of it, but not sure what exactly it is. So probably I would say the majority of you probably have not heard of much about it before. And there are some reasons why or why that is because it hasn't been super easily accessible to the mass kind of public. And that's only really happened in the past few 10s, 20 years or so. So I am hoping that out of this episode, you'll get a little bit more information, and potentially Reiki is something that you can integrate in your life in one form or another in a way that really can help you with multiple aspects of life. So let's get into it. Reiki is essentially a healing tool. I'll kind of get more into the definitions of it, but it is a healing tool that is not something visual that we can see. It's through a life force, a energetic force. And when I first started using it and got trained in it, I was like, oh my gosh, this is like a magic wand. And I just am so excited to be able to share this, because this is one of those things where I was like, oh my gosh, why aren't more people using this? Why don't more people know about it? Like, why aren't we using it more as a healing modality, but not just as a healing modality? It can help you in your daily life. It can help mentally. It can help emotionally. It has multiple uses. And so also, mind you, I am a social worker. And so my career and professional life really has been very focused, on the traditional rational thinking, logical mind, evidence-based, yada yada. And what I have found with Reiki, and also to be clear, Reiki does have some evidence behind it. It's not like it doesn't have any of these things, but not to the extent as some other evidence-based treatment modalities that we use in the field of social work or in therapy and counseling. Though I have found in my experience of using Reiki that there are things that Reiki can heal and resolve that, I don't think that I either think like talk therapy wouldn't address, or it would take so long and having somebody engage in talk therapy to actually get to the root of the problem, to actually then kind of heal it, etc. And what Reiki does is heals in a way that is beyond our human understanding in some ways, but it's such a highly intelligent energy that, it can heal in more advanced ways than we are really even conscious of in our existence, I guess that's what I would say, in this 3D dimension. So it goes into kind of the core wound of a problem, for example, and is able to heal that in its entirety. And it doesn't require then as much of the talking about what the problem is, because it just kind of gets right to the problem and heals it. So I'm so excited to share this information with you, because I really feel like I've already seen it both in my personal and through other people's experience as well, where Reiki has profoundly changed their life. So this is one of those things I'm just so excited to get out there, get the information out there ASAP, so that other people can benefit from Reiki. So a little bit about the history. Where did it come from? Well, essentially, there was a Usui sensei who is a man, and he was from Japan. And he had been devoted to studying. He was interested in studying spirituality. He wanted to improve himself. He wanted to advance himself spiritually. So he went to a Zen Buddhist monastery in Japan, and he was told to go out for, I think, like 20 some days or something like this, or maybe more than that. He was supposed to go out, and he went on Mount Karama in Japan, and he was doing this 21-day meditation on the sacred mountain, and the Karama is outside of Kyoto. And he continued on this, meditating and fasting. And on the 21st day of meditating and fasting, he received what he described as this great Reiki light. And it hit him in the third eye, basically, and it knocked him unconscious. And then when he had woken up, he sensed, he realized, okay, wow, I'm in this state of enlightenment. Okay. And then he was like, all right, and he had, oh, this is very important. He had this experience of, quote, I am the universe, the universe is me. So he was experiencing unity consciousness, basically this total state of we are all one. And said, okay, he achieved whatever this is. He felt like he was enlightened, and he was going to go back down the mountain. So he went back down. He was going back down the mountain, and he stumbled. He tripped on some roots of a tree. And in doing so, he had injured one of his toes. And so he went to go, put his hands on his foot, as we would if there was an injury. And he noticed that the pain stopped and the bleeding slowed down. And his foot essentially was healed right there with him putting some intention towards it. So he said, oh my gosh, I have to share this with other people. I have to share this, what I have been given, this energy, which he started recognizing, okay, I've been given this kind of tool or this ability to heal, which he did just right there and then on his foot. And so it was at that time, and this was in 1922. And so he went back down, and eventually what he ended up teaching and attuning meaning he passed along the ability to access Reiki, to use this energy. And so for the remainder of his life, he went down and he started, I think he eventually opened a clinic in Tokyo, and he started teaching people about this energy, this Reiki, and start tuning people and basically sharing his ability to do this with others so that they could then be healers as well. And I think he attuned around 2,000 people when he was living. And then if I remember correctly, at some point in time, it possibly went underground. But the progression of it was twofold. The Japanese army, the military actually used Reiki as part of their, medical services. This was an ancillary treatment that they provided to their militia for a period of time. And then it also eventually came to, in the 1970s, it eventually came to Western societies in Hawaii by the name of a woman named Mrs. Takata. And she had taught, several people this modality. And then I believe it was also 22. It's a very powerful number. I can't wait to get into our numerology in other episodes, because we definitely will. And the sacredness around numbers. So before she had passed away, she essentially had taught a group of people who then went on to teach others. Now, the thing that's very interesting about this is that when it was taught in the West, it was reserved only for the elite. Everyone could not access it. you had to pay quite a lot of money in order to even be trained in it. I think it was like $10,000 or something, which was in the, 70s or 80s or, around that time period, which would have been a lot more money. So what I'm saying is that it historically has not been something that has been generally accessible to the public. Then a man by the name of William Rand, who is the founder and president of the International Center for Reiki Training, ICRT, the Center for Reiki Research, and the Reiki Membership Association. He's the one who has developed this Usui Reiki lineage. I hope I'm not saying that incorrectly. And has since that time of Usui, the original creator of it, William Rand has been given new methods of using the Reiki energy, because there are different kind of types of it. So it's why I'm saying that is that it is a modality that's continuing to evolve over time. And I believe it's evolving and adapting to, to our time, to our civilization, to what our needs are. So that's a cool aspect about it. Okay, so what is Reiki actually? Well, the name of it itself means life force, like an energy life force. People have heard of chi probably in their body, I think people in general are somewhat familiar that we have, we are energetic beings. And so the briefest way of describing it, or its definition, is its actual name means life force. Now, there are different types of life force energy. It's not all one, and there are also different types of Reiki that you can activate. So how I see it, and I'm just going to speak from my mind's eye about it, or just how I interpret it or I see it. It essentially is this like beautiful light energy that comes through one's hands, is one way to receive it. It also can go other ways, but essentially it flows through a human, and it can then flow out the human's hands to go to somebody else, or to go to oneself and to provide self-healing or self-Reiki. It is non-invasive, like, meaning that it's not like you're going to have surgery or anything like that. It's totally outside of the body. In fact, when I give sessions, I don't even put my hands fully on a person. I work above their actual physical body, and I work more in what might be considered an auric field, or like an energy field around the body. So, yeah, it's non-invasive. It does not require any sort of like spirituality or religion. It's not affiliated with any sort of like, institution or specific type of belief system. Anybody can use it. So you don't have to like believe in any sort of specific way. It doesn't discriminate in that way. Anyone can use Reiki. And again, it doesn't matter what your spirituality or religion or belief system is. So what it does is it kind of sends this light, it sends this healing. And in doing so, it enhances basically the body's natural abilities to heal itself. Because in our original state of being, in our innocent state of being, we are all well. All of our bodies have the capability of healing itself. It's other things that get in the way of its self-healing. So what it can do is this energy can help recalibrate their body in a way that it's supporting the body's natural healing abilities. And it certainly can do this and work in addition to more traditional medical treatments. And I want to make that clear. Is not an instead of, it is in addition to. I mean, some people might opt to have it as an instead of, but it's a complementary treatment. And for those of you who have heard of the biofield, an energetic field that kind of surrounds and is inside our bodies energetically, it works with the biofield. And so in that way, it can reduce stress, enhances relaxation, improve health outcomes. But I'll get to more about what it can possibly do. So again, it's non-invasive, no required spiritual practice or specific belief system or religious affiliation. All of that is welcome with using Reiki. And the other fascinating and very cool thing about Reiki is that it can be sent remotely. And now there are different types of lineages. Just in my speaking with friends or people I've met who practice Reiki, it doesn't seem like all lineages, I'm not sure, are aware of or know or all people are attuned to being able to send Reiki remotely or without being physically with a person. Actually, I think it's that all of the types of lineages do not have necessarily the virtual symbol, the ability to do Reiki virtually, or it's not part of all of their trainings. But it was part of mine Usui lineage's training. That is a possibility. Reiki can be sent. You do not have to be physically with a person. Just as I said, I prefer to work in someone's energy field. Well, I have and do send Reiki from where I am on the West Coast, for example, in the US. I can send it to somebody who's located on the East Coast, for example. It can be anywhere in the world, and that you're tapping into them on a kind of a different level. But one is able to send Reiki and it is effective still by sending it, you can send it without being physically present with somebody, which is pretty cool, if you ask me. All right, so how it kind of works, as I said, is that how I see it in my own experience of it is essentially there's this beautiful, how I envision it, beautiful white clearing cleansing energy, and I intend Reiki, I intend this light to heal to heal people, including myself. And now, it's something that we cannot see with our eyes, but you can certainly feel it. If people feel it in all sorts of ways, and there's no right way to feel it. You can feel it in a multitude of ways. I feel energetic presences, so I feel certain areas of my body being active at different times. Sometimes people experience it as feeling hot, or feeling heat. Sometimes people experience it as feeling tingly. So you can experience the Reiki in a multitude of ways. Or sometimes people don't feel it, like I don't feel much of anything, but then later I will notice the benefits and the improvements from the Reiki. So it can happen all sorts of different ways of how this helps. So essentially how it works is a clinician will activate the Reiki. They'll say, they'll turn it on how they're trained to do it. And then as a receiver of Reiki, if you are a client of a Reiki practitioner, you're usually, might be laying down on a table or something, and you are, essentially receiving this healing energy throughout your body. And it can be given in terms of being put on to heal somebody. You can also fill Reiki in a space. So, for example, in your room or your house, I mean, gosh, even on an airplane, I'm just thinking I'm going to do that next time I go on an airplane. I don't think I've done that one before, but so you can fill different spaces with the Reiki energy that can be really healing. You can do it over your food to clear it of anything negative. I mean, there's the plethora of ways you can use Reiki is, I mean, probably it's pretty endless. Like, the thing about Reiki, which is so wonderful, is that there's no downside to it. There are no negative effects from it. Like, there is no risk. There's only possible benefit. And that's why it's such an amazing thing. When we think about all these other interventions and treatments, especially medical ones, and eh, there's risks. There's always risks to certain, types of treatments. And the thing with Reiki is that there really isn't. That it truly only has benefits. And so for people who are in really stuck situations medically, other types of treatment modalities have failed them, they might end up looking for Reiki. And that's what really happened with me. In fact, I mean, I kind of somewhat stumbled upon, or maybe I Googled around. I was like, did not know much about it. And I had, for over 8 months at that point, been living with some incredible pain that all throughout my body, inflammation in my ankles, my knees, my hips, lower back. I had a right shoulder injury, my upper back and neck. Just these, and for being the age I was at the time, 33, very atypical, basically, and they couldn't find what the issues were, and it was quite a process and a journey, which I think that a lot of people can share similar experiences around challenges with medical issues and the existing medical system in the US, which we also can chat about more in other episodes. But for the purposes of now, I was in incredible amounts of pain. I was not finding any answers. I was doing PT. I was getting tests left and right, getting blood drawn, going to specialists, yada, yada. And there just could not seem to be an answer. And so Reiki had somehow found its way to me, and I Googled it and I signed up, and with the hopes that, okay, well, maybe, maybe this will help me in some way. Maybe I can heal myself in some way. Who knows? We'll see what happens. And this is after I got trained, just in that initial training, where I was like, oh my gosh, this is like a magic wand, because I was able to do something about the pain I was experienced, rather than just sitting and waiting and hoping to have answers and feeling pretty hopeless. I had all of a sudden had a tool at my disposal that felt really empowering, that, what, I can use this and I can intend this energy in various spots of my body and I can heal. And in fact, I did. And in speaking with you now, after when I was first initially trained in Reiki, I am not having anything to the extent of what I was experiencing at that time. So really pretty amazing. So I just spoke about a little bit of the physical things here that it can help with. So it certainly can help. It definitely helps with pain. It helps with discomfort. It promotes healing. I think it promotes healing to occur more rapidly and more completely than without it, I would say. It removes the, quote, disease or disease, but also dis-ease in the body, to help the biofield return to a state of wellness. It helps the body to reset itself, as I mentioned. You can use it for your chakras, to balance the different energy in your various chakras. It certainly can increase vitality, increases energy, vibrancy, balance. Mentally, it helps with discernment, clarity, direction. I use it quite often. I don't know if anyone else's experience is this, but with decision fatigue, we have so many options in front of us all the time, and so much input and stimuli. Sometimes we get tired and we get our brains get fatigued of decision making. So, for example, you know, Reiki can help discern what are my immediate next steps in a kind of a day-to-day situation. It can help um, with addiction. It certainly can help with addiction. In fact, I used it and I think it really helped me to quit nicotine after using for 20 years. So, getting through that was pretty amazing with Reiki. Emotionally, it definitely helps to treat trauma, stress, anxiety. It can help with transforming our consciousness. So, if we want more success consciousness, for example, helping with self love, helping to resolve and heal guilt, shame, helping with relationships, sending, you can't make somebody do something. I don't mean like that, but you can send something to the situation. So, I would like healing for um, the conflict that I had between my partner and I. And I would like Reiki to help heal the situation so that we can both move forward in the highest and best interest of all parties involved. So, for example, sending Reiki to, sending Reiki to peace grids, or sending Reiki to areas of conflict in the world that we would like some healing around. I send Reiki to the ocean for our waters that are being damaged and polluted, sending Reiki to Mother Earth. So Reiki can go multitude of places, animals as well. Certainly, there's actually specific training for animals. Um, it's animal Reiki, and I'm also trained in that. And you know, I'll give an example of healing my dog with Reiki. We were out on a normal, afternoon walk, but she was romping and playing with another dog who was bigger than her, and maybe they collided, not sure. We'd gone on our way walking, and all of a sudden I noticed she's limping. And, that nothing like that she never presented like that before. I never seen her in that kind of way. And so I was quite concerned. And to the extent where I didn't want to walk further. In fact, we returned and went back to the car. But immediately when I noticed it, I'd start intending Reiki on her, that area of concern. And I had put it on, and I intended it to continue on essentially until we got back to the car. And I can't highlight like how concerned I was. I was already, to the point of, okay, am I going to have to potentially carry her? Thinking, am I going to need to go to the vet? What happened? These sorts of things. But all, mind you, like I'm like putting that Reiki on. Well, sure enough, I get right towards my car, and there's another gal that I see from time to time at the park. And I said, oh, well, I don't want Belle to play right now because she just has been limping. I'm worried she's injured. But she kind of was looking better, and the woman said, well, really, I can't even see anything. And I said, well, oh, she was just limping, not too long ago. And well, I mean, I gave her this Reiki thing. Maybe that helped. And she goes, wow, well, it must have, because she looks totally fine. And sure enough, she was totally fine. And I was even surprised and impressed by that at that point. I think it was shortly after I had gotten trained in animal Reiki, or, I was surprised by that, is my point. But sure enough, she literally had absolutely no problem. And from that point on was totally fine. It was really, really amazing. It was astonishing. And the thing about animals, I'm going on a little aside, but I think it's important. See, the only thing that really can get in the way, and not even this to some extent, I mean, you know, is our own ego, is our human ego that says, no, it won't work, or no, it can't do it, or no, I don't want it. We have sovereign right over our bodies, and which is fine. That's their choice, totally. But for human sessions, for example, it's typically around 45 minutes for Reiki. For animals, when I've given sessions, I mean, they can be done in like 10 minutes because they just receive. They just receive that Reiki energy. Ooh, they're just eating it up. They don't have any ego mind being like, "Oh, you shouldn't believe this because you can't see it with your eyes," or "Are you sure this can't really work?" These kinds of things that we have running through our minds. They don't have that. They just are accept. They just receive it. And it's so fascinating to me how quickly can be effective for them, and how it takes us as humans longer to, like, receive and get all the good benefit from it, because we to quiet our mind, to get more calm and these sorts of things. So it was just an astonishing juxtaposition, also an astonishing example of the ego, um and how much it can get in our way, um of things. So just spoke about animals with that. Spiritually, it definitely, if you want to develop spiritually, if that's something you're seeking, absolutely Reiki can help. And it's certainly helped me in profound ways. So like it enhances meditation. It certainly enhances you connecting with the source within, your higher self, your God self, God, angels, ascended masters, whoever else, enlightened, illumined beings, can help you trust and recognize, trust, notice, listen to your intuition, your inner authority. It can help with enhancing your innovation, your creativity. It can help with coming up with alternative solutions. It can help with getting into a meditative space where you're connecting with higher frequencies and potentially connecting with other dimensions. It also can help spirit attachments, and help heal those. So it's really profound, the the possibilities of Reiki and where you can go with Reiki. Again, in my own experience, it's certainly healed myself and a lot of what I was going to. Um, Definitely has helped with my own process of spiritual development, and I just find it, as I said, to be basically like this magic wand that, everybody can access. So if you are interested in, you can just receive it as like a service, just like people get acupuncture or you go to the chiropractor or what have you, you can receive Reiki. Some areas of the country might have more accessibility in person than others. But then if you're interested in getting Reiki, or becoming trained in Reiki, people take Reiki courses for all sorts of reasons. They take it because they want help with, healing themselves, such as I did, but also with wanting to develop their own businesses or their own practices in doing Reiki and providing a healing method to others. Um, in the classes I took with other people, there were some parents there whose children had some medical issues, and so the parents were taking, Reiki to be able to provide it to their children at home. So there's all sorts of different reasons people end up taking Reiki, or end up getting trained in Reiki. A huge benefit for that I find as a mental health worker, as a social worker, in comparison to traditional treatment and traditional therapy, where, and I'll speak a little bit just to maybe some other mental health care workers or just caregivers, professional caregivers in some way, or, providing services to others, that it removed, what I really liked about it is it removed the aspect of vicarious trauma that can occur when we are working with folks in a mental health capacity, when we are kind of listening to people's trauma and day in and day out, or, we are managing and helping people through very significant and very challenging experiences and emotions, etc., in one's life. And what I like about Reiki is that it doesn't require the person, having to kind of rehash and retell their story, which in, certain experiences when people have certain histories and experiences of trauma, it's not always indicated to keep talking about it again and again because it can be re-triggering and traumatizing. But then also, the clinician, the person providing the treatment can, by way of rehearing kind of traumatic stories, can then essentially have a trauma-like response just by virtue of hearing the stories of trauma, etc. So what I really love about Reiki is that it heals and it does so fully, and it's such a smart, intelligent energy. It just goes to where the healing needs to happen, and it doesn't require kind of the possible re-traumatization, especially with folks that are working with mental health stuff and with folks that have trauma histories. So I just wanted to share that aspect as well. Again, not to say that it needs to totally replace traditional treatments, but to really consider it as an augmenting treatment, and also perhaps therapists to consider getting trained in it to augment your own treatment practices. So how does the training work? If you wanted to get trained, Reiki Lifestyle is an organization based out of Portland, run by two women, Robin Bonelli and Colleen Bonelli, who are a mother and daughter duo who really kind of have pioneered this creation of a community and education more generally and broadly about Reiki, about what it is, and also providing trainings for it, etc. And they have a podcast that explains more about it, and they have a weekly Reiki share. That's where I received my training through. It's very reputable, and I feel like I got very good trainings through them. So that is one place I can mention, but there certainly are other ones all over the US. And there are different sorts of classes. They're kind of different levels. There's Reiki 1, Reiki 2, then you have Reiki 3. At some point, you'll get into master Reiki level. And when you're a master Reiki level, I took that one recently, then you're able to actually pass along. And just like Usui Sensei did, you're actually able to give the ability to do Reiki to other people. There's certain period time frames where you have to, you can get one training and then you need 6 months until you can do your next training, and so forth and so on. So that's kind of how it goes. And in the trainings, they teach you the symbols. There's certain words and there's certain symbols that represent different types of the Reiki energy, and the different types of the Reiki energy can help with different various things, kind of from that list that I had mentioned before. And then that person is able to then bend Reiki, and it's really through one's intention and activating the Reiki after you've been trained that then somebody has the ability to do it. So it's really, really incredible. It's really amazing. Just so you all know, I imbue all of these episodes that I'm doing for this podcast and my Instagram, I imbue them with Reiki, meaning that by virtue of you listening or accessing these various things, that you can receive the healing powers of Reiki. And it is, of course, only according to your permission and your willingness. So, like, for example, if you didn't want that Reiki healing and you looked at my post and but you kind of have in your mind, I don't want any of that, then it's not gonna go to you, right? Like, it's only if you are open to wanting and receiving it. And so it's also something where it's not like it's going to hit you and sort of like, oh my gosh, this hit me so quickly, but it works on will work on more subtle levels that are kind of energy is just flowing your way. So I also think you can mimic it in some ways, and I don't think there's any harm in doing it, which is just by visualizing a beautiful white light going throughout your body. It can go through the top of your head, come flowing down from the top of your head and through your crown chakra, or just, the point it right at the top of your head and flowing through your body and healing and clearing and cleansing and restoring your body's natural abilities to heal itself. And you can visualize it. You can visualize it filling up your chakras. You can visualize it going to certain areas on your body you might be experiencing pain. You can ask for assistance with helping to organize your thoughts, or, whatever it might be. So if for those of you who aren't trained, I would say go ahead, and there's no harm in trying to envision light coming down and through your body in any way. And if you are looking for Reiki services or treatments, check out my website, the-sourcewithin.com. I do have some Reiki openings for some new clients, and all of my services are virtual and remote. So I can provide Reiki for you wherever you are located on planet Earth. I'll leave today with a Reiki mantra, which is, just for today, I will not be angry. Just for today, I will not worry. Just for today, I will do the work. Just for today, I will be kind. And just for today, I am grateful. Thanks so much, all. Great seeing you. And as always, I share the light within me with hopes it sparks the light within thee. And do please let me know if you'd be interested in hearing more about Reiki. There is so much more I could talk about. So feel free to let me know if you'd be interested in hearing more. Thanks so much.